Lions TV, we are sponsored by Regal Elevators and Lifts Consultants Limited, a company that is owned and operated by a Millwall fan, just like every single one of the sponsors you can see in and around my slab head. If you are going to do a bit of business, then please keep it in the Millwall family and check out all of our sponsors' website links in the description below. I'm trying not to laugh and I don't even know why. Well, I do know why. I've got to try and cover last night's game. This is your post-match analysis video for yesterday's 4-0 absolute whitewash, destroying, arsehole tearing, call it what you like, defeat at Fulham. Before you decide to switch off, I will also cover the Middlesbrough game that comes up this Saturday away from home, a nice 260-mile trip to the Riverside, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. But let's start out with last night's game and the starting 11 that started the match. It was 4-5-1 as I predicted. I was only one out of my prediction. It was Bulkowski in goal, Marlon Romeo right back, Murray Wallace left back, Jake Pearce and Alex Cooper centre backs, Sean Williams, Ryan Leonard and Ben Thompson, the central midfield three were there apparently. Left midfield was Connor Mahoney, right midfield was Yuri Skalak was there apparently, and up front as a lone striker, as an absolute lost cause on his own up there just doing doggies, it was Tom Bradshaw. Wow, it's hard to know what to say. It's hard to know what to say other than we were absolutely dominated in a way that I've not seen us dominated in a long, long time. Since Spurs away in the Cup, it was even worse than Man United in the Cup final, I think. Yeah, not good. Our heaviest defeat in the league since August 2016 when we lost 5-1 away to Peterborough at London Road. I just don't know what to say. I think Harris did the right thing. We went there with the intentions of playing the same way we did against West Brom, and we did that. But the problem we had is West Brom's final ball wasn't the greatest and had no one in the box to finish things off. In effect, Fulham had about 5 or 6 players to finish it off. They were devastating. It's one of the best footballing performances I've ever seen, definitely from a Championship side. I honestly think they would have given Liverpool or Man City, I honestly think they would have given them a good game last night. It was just total football, and they were sharp as fuck, but they wouldn't even have to do a lot of running because their movement and their passing and the accuracy of their passing and moving the ball quickly was just doing all the work for them. And for the Millwall fans saying that we wasn't in their face enough, I think we was trying. I just don't think we could get anywhere near them. Couldn't get anywhere near them. They scored a first goal, a brilliant goal, get the ball out wide, they run it across the box. We're okay with letting teams have it out wide, but when they cross the ball into the box, that's okay. When they knock them in the little channels in between our centre-backs, or they run across the edge of the box and stick one in the top corner, there's not a lot you can do. Caballero, I believe his name is, something like that, words to that effect. He got 2 goals on the night, on loan from Wolves. The big problem you've got is they've been competing in the Championship. They've come down with exactly the same side, exactly the same manager, with the intentions of going back up. You know, Scott Parker will have had reassurances from the board there saying, look, if you want me to work with this team, don't forget I was relegated early last season, so let me keep this team and have a good go. And I think that's what they promised him. And on top of that, they've added Harry Arter from Bournemouth, they've added the aforementioned Caballero from Wolves, and Knockhart, the little fucker who loves to roll around the floor, but a fantastic player who gets a second goal. They've recruited those on loan, so if anything, they've lost Sessegnon, yes, but they've actually strengthened from what they was last year, and they're just in Premier League mode. Jesus Christ, they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. There's nothing you can do or say, in my opinion. Harris did the right thing. He went there with the right tactics. The players are playing for him at the minute, as we know. There's nothing you can really do about that. I think you've just got to bite the bullet and say, you know, we can scream meh as much as we like. We can be intimidating. The players can be up for it as they like. But when you come up against a team that is just clearly a class above, there is not a lot you can do. The press are all over it today. It's causing a lot of aggravation between the fans, etc. And everyone's all over Millwall losing 4-0. Little old Millwall losing 4-0. Apparently it's big news. The full-time reaction's gone like over 7,000 views in the first 10 hours. But that just proves, again, how far we've come under Neil Harris. We rarely lose heavily, especially in the league. Spurs in the Cup, obviously, was expected 6-0. I think other than yesterday's defeat, obviously, as I mentioned, the Peterborough game in 2016. But other than that, I think Derby away a couple of seasons ago, 3-0. So it's high praise and testament to Neil Harris that we don't get hammered that often. I think this is a one-off, and I don't think people should start getting on the players' backs or they should start panicking. I just think it was a class and a lesson in football that we can only dream of, and we'll never get near that level. We're never ever going to get near that level. You know, as I said, fans screaming and a little bit of aggression and togetherness will only carry you so far. You cannot compete against the likes of Fulham with the players they got, the parachute payments they got for coming down, the money they've got, the squad they've clipped together. But they were absolutely devastating from the first whistle to the last, and I can't really praise them enough. But you know, I've only spoke about the first goal so far. Brilliant goal from Caballero. The second goal, I've watched it back a few times. We're actually nicely covered in defence. We've got so many bodies in the box, it's a joke. And Knockhart makes a late run, and he's just got great football intelligence, unfortunately. And, you know, again, our players will work hard and fight for the shirt, but sometimes if you've got that little bit of extra talent in your mind and at your feet, there's nothing you can do. He finds a tiny gap to get in between, and as luck would have it, well, as class would have it, the winger sticks in the only place he could do, right on Knockhart's head into that perfect little gap that he makes for himself, and it's 2-0. A lot of people saying we should have gone 4-4-2 last night, and we should have more of a go away from home, and we show away teams too much respect. But in Neil Harris's defence, it's worked so much in the past. West Brom, as we've seen twice in the last week. Last season, as I said, results at Derby, Birmingham, Middlesbrough, when we was in the shit away from home, the one up front did work well. And Matt Smith comes on second half, we go 4-4-2. Who come off? Sean Williams comes off. By the way, I've got to say, Ryan Leonard I thought was our best player last night. In a night of absolute madness, Ryan Leonard was one of the few that actually seemed to get to grips with it and had a good go. You know, the rest of them can't even give you a match rating because we just didn't get near the ball. We just didn't get near the ball. Honestly, I'm still shell-shocked, as I'm sure a few Millwall fans are, but I'm not going to dwell on it. The third goal came, we had a little 5-minute stint at the start of the second half, and my mates were going, we're going to get back into it. I said, we can't keep this intensity up. It was men against boys, and it was almost David against Goliath, you know. We've got that little edge for a minute, but it was never going to last. The ball goes up the other end, and as well as being the far superior side, Fulham get a little bit of luck. I'm spitting everywhere for a change. A shot in, Mitrovic sticks his foot out and it sort of hits him. He gets control of it somehow, luckily, and he knocks it past Bulkowski. Bulkowski takes him down. It is a penalty. I'm not going to dwell on it. The Bartman looked good other than that. Lots of safe handling, and again, it's good to have a goalkeeper that's in between the sticks and looks like he actually cares about what's going on around him. But yeah, Bulkowski brings him down. It wouldn't have mattered. The game was going to be done regardless. Mitrovic, the keeper goes the right way. Again, a good penalty. Another theatrical volley, but a great play. You can't take it away from him. And then the fourth goal, the icing on the cake, was another brilliant finish from Caballero. Rounds the keeper, shows great composure. Bang. Thanks for coming 4-0. The only two positives to come out the night, well, three, because I thought Ryan Leonard did very well. Malumbi coming on, again, looks a class above what we've got, and he has to start Saturday, in my opinion, Malumbi. That could be a little bit of a wake-up call there for the gaffer, because we was overrun massively. We was overrun over the whole pitch, don't get me wrong, but the central midfield three were overrun massively last night. We had 5 in midfield, and at times I didn't even notice a lot of them were on the pitch, which is completely and utterly shattered by Fulham, back down to earth with an absolute bang. I just don't know what else to say. I can't keep saying it, and I'm not going to say any further. Positives from us last night, as I said, Malumbi coming off the bench, looks good, should start for me Saturday. And poor old Tom Bradshaw works tirelessly up there without any service. The one bit of service he does get is a header, which he scores, and again he's disallowed. That's 2 goals he scored for us in the league now, and both disallowed, so he remains not off the mark in the league. Obviously he got to go in the Carabao Cup. All 3 were headers so far, I remember. Carabao Cup was a header, last night was a header, and the other goal he got for us was disallowed, was last season before we got injured, away at Nottingham Forest. I think that was a header as well. So keep your chin up, Tom. I'm hoping the gaffer will go 4-4-2, but I'll get on to the pre-match with Middlesbrough in a minute, and we'll have a right go Saturday. I think we'll bounce back Saturday, but before that, one thing I have forgot to mention is obviously Yuri Skalak has gone off injured last night, carried off, and I just don't think it's going to happen for Skalak at the club. We're all egging him on. We all want him to do well. He seemed to have made a bigger comeback than Frank Sinatra, and he looked like he was going to finally get his chance, and he gets carried off. He actually got carried off from the dugout to the change rooms at half time. So I'm hoping that's not a bad one for Yuri, and he can turn it around and get himself back in contention again. But again, on that basis, we now don't have a right midfielder for Saturday's game. Let's move on to it as quick as possible. We're away to Middlesbrough. Can't wait. So Saturday we make the long trip. I think it's 260 miles to the Riverside. It's nearly a 500-mile round trip. And on the back of yesterday's result, I don't think many Millwall fans will fancy it, but I'll be there for one. I think we should go 4-4-2. I think Harris got it right last night, but I think that on the back of last night we should maybe not. I don't think we showed them too much respect for them. I just think they was that good, but I do understand where some of the fan base are coming from, and that we are showing teams too much respect away from home. I mean, We went 1-0 down at West Brom before we started playing, and when we started playing, we could have won the game. So I do see what a lot of fans are saying. Why don't we just start like that and just try and win the game from the off? That's what I'd do Saturday. I think the time has come to make Matt Smith and Tom Bradshaw our strike partnership. For that reason, I'd go 4-4-2, and this would be my team. Bartosz Bulkowski in goal, Jason McCarthy right back, Murray Wallace left back, Sean Hutchinson to skip at the side alongside Jake Cooper, Jason Malumbi and Ben Thompson central midfield, Aidan O'Brien on the right, Connor Mahoney on the left, and up front Matt Smith and Tom Bradshaw. Yeah, I just think the time has come just to go out there and go for it. There's a few changes in my team selection. I won't go into it. Read into that what you will. Not criticising any other players, but after a 4-0 defeat, I think it could be time to freshen things up, especially at the back. Midfield, obviously, right midfield could be a little bit of a contentious one. I'd rather have Aidan O'Brien on the team than have Shane Ferguson in the team. Again, I'm not slagging Fergie off because no one was at it last night, but you could see he didn't want to ball his feet in the second half again. Didn't fancy it at all, and I just think Aidan O'Brien gives you that little bit of an extra goal threat. As I said, he wanders into pockets of areas that he shouldn't really be in because he's supposed to be playing midfield and ends up getting a goal for us. So I'd go for it Saturday. I'd go 4-4-2. I'd go for the win, and that's the 11 I'll go with. Moving on to the opposition, it is of course Middlesbrough. They've gone all Millwall-esque and employed an ex-player to be their manager. Jonathan Woodgate is the manager of the club now. Took over from Tony Pulis, whose contract expired in the summer and was not renewed by the club. And I said they've gone a little bit Millwall, haven't they? And employed an ex-player of the club to try and turn things around from them. They spent a lot of money under Pulis and it just didn't really work out. They always seem to start well and then fade away. They think they're going to make the playoffs every year, but along with Derby, they're two of the teams that just I can't ever see getting out of this division in a hurry. As I said, they usually start the season well, but they have not started this season well. They have played 4 games, won 1, drawn 1, and lost 2 in the league, and they have also been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Crewe Alexandra at the Riverside on penalties. They did, however, get their first win of the season. That was at home against Wigan on Tuesday night. A 1-0 win with Britt Assombalomba getting the goal, and he will be the one to watch again. They've got a team now where they haven't spent money really for a while, and they've got pretty much the same side that's been knocking around. Darren Randolph's a good goalkeeper. Britt Assombalomba, as I've mentioned. And of course, Posh George from Surrey, bought from Millwall for £8 million. Seems to be the worst bit of business they've ever done, and not a good move for Posh George because he's still stuck in the Championship and stuck in the shithole that is Middlesbrough. He hasn't even been getting in the side either. He come off the bench on Tuesday in their 1-0 win. The one to watch for them, as I've mentioned him, is a goal scorer, born and bred, Britt Assombalomba. Will he get a goal against us Saturday? I don't think he's going to. So this is your pre-match prediction, and here we go. Have I lost my marbles? Am I still shell-shocked? We're going to win the game by 2-0 with Tom Bradshaw and Murray Wallace up from the back to get the goals in a 2-0 win and get our season not back on track because it's already been a good start to the season. But listen, Neil Harris, when he sees something go wrong, he does see it go wrong. He doesn't just see it go wrong from a manager's perspective. He sees it from a Millwall perspective, and he is good to his word. You've got to back him on that one. He said he'd get the shit out this summer. He said he'd get rid of the troublemakers, and he's done it. And on the back of that, I think we'll turn things around this Saturday at the Riverside. So that's your lot for this. What is this? A midweek roundup? A post-match for Fulham? A pre-match for Middlesbrough? Call it what you will. All that's left for me to say is I will see you at the Riverside Stadium. If you've got no life and no brains like me and nothing better to do, you'll be there with me. See you Saturday if you're going. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Come on, you Lions.